Hello, my name is Laura, and today we are going to discuss how to navigate the dating world when you have Ehlers Danlos syndrome. I want to start off by clarifying that when I say dating, I don't mean dating just for fun. I mean dating as in the process of courtship and getting to know one another with the end goal of finding love, true companionship, and marriage in mind. I'm currently happily married, but if I were still single, this is how I would approach dating with EDS. I would recommend to first create a list of what you're looking for in a spouse. My wish list, so to speak, would look something like this. I want someone who I find physically attractive and who feels the same way about me. Someone who is more outgoing than I am. Someone who is intelligent and enjoys both silly banter as well as deep conversations. Someone with at least a few similar interests as me. Someone who shares the same moral values and political beliefs as I do. Someone with similar life goals as me. Someone willing to go on international vacations together, someone who has a passion and drive for something, someone financially stable, someone with the same love languages as me, someone physically and emotionally strong, and someone who is capable and willing to lead our marriage and life together. When you create this list, it should mostly be non-negotiables, not superficial or general preferences, such as wanting a spouse with a specific hair color or job description. After creating your spouse wish list, I would then create a pros versus cons list for yourself of what you can offer your future spouse. What do you bring to the table? My pros versus cons list might look something like this. I have a very soft and agreeable personality, meaning I'm very pleasant and easy to get along with, but because of that, I also tend to avoid conflict. I put a lot of effort into my physical health and appearance, but I do have HEDS. I'm frugal and financially stable, but HEDS could affect that stability in the future. I love to cook, clean, and organize, but I dislike and physically struggle to do most outdoor chores. I take constructive criticism well, but I do struggle to give it in return. I'm quite mentally and emotionally strong, but I'm physically weak. Once those lists are completed, I would then compare the two. Is what you're bringing to the table matching close value-wise to what you're looking for in a spouse? If you have a lot of big cons and not too many pros, you may want to consider editing your spouse wish list. It would be unrealistic to expect a spouse to check off every box on your wish list, while you only check off one or two on theirs. Now that you've really nailed down what you want in a spouse and what you can offer in return, you're ready to enter the dating scene. You now need to decide how you want to go about seeking your future spouse. You could try to meet someone organically through school, work, or friends, but you need to be willing to spend a lot of time waiting for the right person to come along. If you want to speed things up, you could ask your family, friends, or coworkers to set you up with someone they feel would be a good match for you. You could also sign up for a class, such as a cooking class, or join a group, such as a bowling league, to try to meet people. If you want to try to meet people online, you could use one of the many matchmaking and dating apps out there, or you could meet people through online games or social media platforms. You will just have to be a little more vigilant about weeding out any possible scammers or catfishes. I would also recommend to try to meet in real life as soon as possible to not waste anybody's time, and to also meet in a public space for safety reasons. For any first dates, whether you initially met online or in real life, I would recommend doing an activity of some kind together, such as mini golf or going for a walk. That way you can focus on the activity itself if there are any lulls in the conversation. I would try to make the activity something that can easily be accomplished within an hour in case the date doesn't go well, but also something that could easily transition into a longer date if it does go well, such as getting dinner or drinks afterwards. By the third or fourth date, you two should start discussing more important things like, what do you both want out of life? Do you want children? Where do you want to see yourself in 5, 10, or 20 years? Do you share the same moral values or religious beliefs, etc.? It's important to get the discussion going early on in a relationship about these sort of important topics, so that you don't invest months into a relationship to later find out that you're actually incompatible for marriage. A question I hear a lot is, when is the appropriate time to bring up that I have EDS? Just like discussing marriage and children on a first date can seem a little bit too forward and weird, bringing up health conditions can also feel that way. I think the answer really depends on how much EDS actually affects you. If you have very physically obvious signs of a health issue, such as needing to use a cane, a wheelchair, or you have a feeding tube, or if EDS affects you in a serious way on a daily basis, even if it's not so visibly obvious, you're going to want to be upfront about it right away. If you have an online dating profile, I wouldn't recommend hiding those physical signs of your health condition in your photos. It's disingenuous. Not being upfront about EDS when it seriously affects you on a daily basis will make you seem like a catfish. So you'll want to disclose that part about yourself by at least the end of the first or second date. If your condition isn't outwardly obvious and doesn't usually affect you in any serious way, I would personally bring it up within the first week or two of meeting someone. The easiest way, in my opinion, to disclose your EDS diagnosis is to let the conversation naturally flow in that direction. Say your date brings up a time that they injured their shoulder playing a sport. You could follow up with questions about their injury and then share an injury story of your own while revealing that EDS was the cause of that injury. If you can't seem to find a good way to bring up your EDS after a couple of weeks, I recommend just ripping off the Band-Aid. If you wait too long, it could paint you in a bad light, making it appear like you intentionally tried to hide something important from your partner. You could say something like this: "Since we've been seeing each other for a couple of weeks now, I want to let you know that I have a genetic disorder called Ehlers Danlos syndrome, and it affects me in X, Y, and Z ways. It's a literal pain in the neck sometimes, but it's also kind of cool since because of EDS, I can zip up my own dresses and I can scratch my own back. I just want to gauge your feelings on this and answer any questions you have. I understand if this is a bit more than you wanted to take on, but I've been really enjoying our time together and would like to see where this goes." You'll want to be brief with your explanation, leaving room for follow-up questions. Should your significant other end things after your disclosure, try to be understanding and kind. They, like you, have a right to their personal preferences and life goals, even if it hurts your feelings when you don't fit into those preferences and goals. Their rejection doesn't make them ableist, shallow, or a bad person. Just like you might lose interest in someone who lives with their parents, they might lose interest in someone with a potentially serious and unpredictable health condition that could also affect your future children together. Be gracious about their decision and move on. If they choose to continue your relationship together, whatever you do, do not self-sabotage by pushing them away, telling them that they deserve someone healthy or that you just can't see what they see in you. This is self-destructive behavior and usually doesn't end well. Who they choose to be with is ultimately their decision, so just graciously accept their decision to be with you and work on building the relationship together. I hope you found this advice to be useful. Have you ever run into any obstacles while dating with EDS? Let me know down in the comment section. If you thought this video was helpful, please show that like button some love. If you want to see more videos about EDS, subscribe to this channel. Please feel free to share these videos to help spread awareness and education about EDS. As always, thanks for watching and see you next time.